Greetings everyone, and welcome to the launch of the 2019 Consumer Education Series brought to you by Oregon Natural Market. My name is Michael Chase. I'm the dietitian nutritionist at Oregon Natural Market, and I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about CBD oil. It's getting a tremendous amount of attention in the media. With me today is Dr. Sara Rodgers. Hello, Dr. Rodgers.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Dr. Rodgers is a board-certified naturopathic physician in private practice. She sees patients in Boise, Idaho, and Ontario, Oregon. So, Dr. Rodgers, CBD oil is getting a tremendous amount of attention. It's everywhere. It's local news, national news, major publications, social media, celebrities are talking about it. What is CBD oil exactly?
So CBD oil is cannabidiol. It is the most non-psychoactive component of the cannabis plant.
Interesting. What are the benefits of CBD oil?
CBD oil has lots of different benefits. Most people use it for pain, but it also has been shown useful for people with depression or anxiety, sleep issues, muscle spasms as in muscular sclerosis, helps potentially reduce amyloid plaques. It helps with blood sugar regulation, reducing bone degradation. It helps with nausea and vomiting. It helps with epilepsy. There's a whole variety of things that's been shown to help with as a major component of the cannabis plant.
So when someone consumes CBD oil, what physiological effect does it have? What systems in the body does it affect?
Well, primarily, first you need to know that we have our own cannabinoid system. It's called the endocannabinoid system.
Right.
It has a variety of different mechanisms. It's basically a homeostasis system, and when things get out of hand, it helps calm things down. We have two major receptors, the CB1, CB2 receptors found in the brain and the immune system respectively. CBD does not work primarily in that system, although its component, they thought, in epilepsy is to work in terms of raising our own cannabinoid called anandamide. They think that's what helps reduce epileptic seizures, is by raising anandamide in our system. And anandamide works in the central nervous system on the CB1 receptor primarily. CBD oil, however, works in the peripheral system in a lot of different receptors, and that's why it has an effect in our neurological system for neurotransmitters, or reducing beta amyloid plaques, or helping with reducing tumors. Is it's working on these other receptors that help regulate overgrowth, overstimulation, that sort of thing, or pain.
Excellent. At the Oregon Natural Market, we sell CBD that's derived from hemp, industrial hemp, but I understand that it can also be derived from marijuana. What is the difference, and would you want to use one over the other? Right.
So we're having this conversation today about CBD, so I'll talk about CBD. So cannabis is both, let me start over. So THC and CBD are found in cannabis plants, and hemp is Cannabis sativa, and it is grown primarily for its fiber, and it has a whole variety of cannabinoids, but very low amounts of THC. It's a big stocky plant with small leaves. The marijuana plant, which is also Cannabis sativa or Cannabis indica, is still a cannabis plant, but it looks very different. It's got small stalks and very big leaves in it, and it is bred to have higher levels of your THC. So when you're looking for a CBD plant or a CBD oil, you're primarily getting it from a plant that's going to be grown that has a higher CBD than THC component to it, although it will have the whole amount of the cannabinoids. There's many different cannabinoids. I mean, you want that in a product, is a full spectrum of cannabinoids.
Right. Is cannabis the only plant that contains CBD?
No. So most plants and animals except insects have a cannabinoid system. We make our own cannabinoids. The majority of it is anandamide and 2-AG, but the cannabis plant contains CBD, THC, and a variety of other cannabinoids. And when you eat your fruits and vegetables, you're also getting cannabinoids, just in smaller amounts.
Right, right. At the Oregon Natural Market, the majority of our CBD oil products are full spectrum. They contain the full spectrum of 100 plus phytocannabinoids that can be derived from cannabis. There are a lot of companies, though, that are making CBD isolates. So they're isolating the CBD either from cannabis or another plant material or a fruit, and they're just isolating that and putting that into a product. Can you explain the difference between a full spectrum extract that's giving what's called the entourage effect and then the CBD isolate that you would typically get in any type of form, whether it be capsule or liquid?
Right. So when you eat a whole plant, you're getting the benefits from all of those components, including the essential oils called the terpenes, and it allows the body to choose what it needs at the right time. When you have an isolate, whether it's THC or CBD, you're sort of pushing the boundaries of what the body might need, and it won't have that balancing effect. So our body has a variety of different cannabinoids. There's 2 main ones, but they found at least 9 others. And then the cannabinoids from a plant are going to be a variety as well, with THC and CBD being the most abundant. But the body actually works best when it has all of those things working together at the same time. So even if you're taking something with a low THC, you're still providing all those other cannabinoids, and you might get a better product than just something that's a single isolate, like just CBD, and you might not get the full benefit of the whole plant.
Right, that makes sense. The federal government sets the limit for THC in industrial hemp at 0.3% or less. Most full spectrum extracts, by definition, are going to have 0.3% or less THC. If someone uses a full spectrum extract, can they experience a psychoactive effect or a high that's typically associated with marijuana?
Right. At less than 0.3% THC, most people will not experience a high. You might still have a slight psychoactive effect, which might be seen as reduction in anxiety or being able to sleep a little better, but you won't feel a high.
Great. For people that want to use a full spectrum extract that contains 0.3% or less THC, do they have to be concerned about triggering a UA, a urinalysis or drug test, say that might be required by their employer?
You could possibly trigger that, but the chances of that are very low at the amounts that you're taking, unless you're taking thousands of milligrams dosage of that product, at which point you might trigger a positive urinalysis test. But the chances of that happening with small doses, like in the tens to hundreds of milligrams of CBD, the chance of that is much less, but you should always let your employer know. You also need to know the legality of the state you're taking the CBD in, and to make sure that when you are being drug tested, you let your employer know if you are taking CBD, for what reason, and to see what the policy is about that.
Right. I have customers and clients that want to use CBD in its topical form. A lot of companies make a balm or a salve or a lotion to be used topically, say for joint injury, osteoarthritis, muscle pain. When someone puts that topically on their skin, are they going to absorb enough THC to, say, trigger a drug test?
Well, as mentioned before, there's a possibility of any of that happening, but the chances of that is low. We do have detoxification systems within each cell, so the THC might be degraded at that point, but most likely no. But it is a possibility, and you should check with your employer first.
Yeah, good idea. I have a lot of customers and clients that have pets, and they've read that CBD oil can be very helpful for anxiety, for pain and inflammation. Can you give it to any type of pet, and does it work?
That's a good question. Number one, I'm not a veterinarian. I do suggest you talk to your veterinarian about that. But there are CBD formulations for pets, because CBD does not work on the CBD, the cannabinoid receptors. The chances of an adverse fatal dose is very low. If you have a true full spectrum high THC, that is not true. You can damage an animal, potentially causing death. But a CBD product, because of not acting on the cannabinoid receptors, most likely it won't be a problem, but you should speak to your veterinarian.
Yeah, good idea. Are there any health concerns when using CBD? Are there any side effects, interactions, anything that people should know about when consuming the product?
Right. So just like with any other thing, people can be sensitive to anything. Like I have people sensitive to rice,
right,
or blueberries. Those are really healthy foods, but not for those people. And anybody can have a reaction to anything. So we don't want to have an anaphylactic reaction to cannabis. But for the most part, when they've done the studies, they have found it to be a very safe product. And that if you have high doses, you might have some diarrhea, you might have some faintness, you might have some appetite changes or fatigue. So those are things to be looking out for. But for the most part, it's been shown to be very, very safe.
Yes. What's the legal status of CBD? We hear a lot about some states regulating or controlling or not allowing it in their state. We know on a federal level that it's legal in all 50 states, and with the passage of the 2018 Farm Bill, the federal government removed it from the scheduled drug list, separated hemp and marijuana. Hemp is now considered an agricultural commodity. What do we know about for the state of Idaho or other states?
Right. So where cannabis is legalized as a medical product, CBD is probably most likely going to be legal. In Idaho, we're not quite legal at this moment. There's no legality of any sort of cannabis, including CBD, unfortunately. There's a lot of confusion about that, but it is not legal. There is a bill through the 2019 legislature that might be coming in this week that will allow will bring the agricultural standards of Idaho up to the federal Farm Bill standards, so legalizing hemp in Idaho. Because that bill has not presented yet at this taping, we don't know what the CBD component will be at this time, but let's hope.
And I understand that there's no standard medical dosing protocol for CBD. It's variable depending on who's using it and what they're using it for. How do you recommend somebody dose with CBD?
I recommend, the way I've been taught is a slogan. It's called start low, go slow.
Okay.
So what you do is you start with the lowest dose, whether it's a drop out of a dropper, and you take that once and you see how you do. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to have an absorption, but it is probably the best way to start because then you can have very small doses administered at one time. After an hour and a half to 2 hours, you can take another drop or go up to 2 drops and see how you do. And you can also do that at night, at bedtime, and see how well you sleep and how you feel in the morning. And then over time, you can find the dose that's effective for you. And some people, depending on their detoxification systems, might need a very low dose to have an effect. Other people might need a much higher dose to have an effect. So you start low dose and you slowly increase the dose to find the effective dose for yourself.
Excellent. Good recommendations. At the Oregon National Market, we carry a number of CBD products from a variety of companies. We have a very strict vetting process. We only work with companies that are transparent, that have good manufacturing practices, good business practices, and that use the proper extraction methods. There's a tremendous amount of movement in the market with CBD. A lot of companies are jumping in to make a buck or two with the product because it's become so popular. What do you typically look for in a brand?
I look for, and I recommend to my patients that they find as organic as possible, purity of ingredients, and to make sure that you don't start with a product that has any extra things in it. So you want to find an extract that is just the full plant cannabis, high CBD, and then the oil or the alcohol is extracted in. But you don't want any flavors, colors, preservatives, or sugar added. We don't like sugar to begin with.
Right.
We do, it's yummy, but it's just not a good thing for you. So when you're trying to use a product to help reduce inflammation, you want to find those things that are just the pure product in general. It is hard for the labeling issues at the moment because the FDA, if you don't know what the dose is per milligram, per drop, or dropper full, then you should call the company and find out what that exactly is. So as you start low and go slow and find your dose, then you'll know exactly what dose that is in terms of milligrams of CBD. The companies right now, there's some issue about labeling on the bottles because of the FDA requirements. So hopefully over time with the Farm Bill, maybe that will change, I'm hoping. So I like to see organic, I like to see good labeling, and I like to see as few ingredients as possible in the product to begin with.
Yes. At the Oregon National Market, I probably get 2 to 3 calls a day from companies that want to sell me a CBD product. And there's a tremendous amount of variation in strength and in how they're formulating it. A lot of companies are mixing it with hemp oil, MCT oil, olive oil, using different flavorings. When choosing a CBD product, it's very important to work with a retailer or supplier that is following some type of structure in terms of vetting. A lot of people are making this in their garage and selling it online. Be very careful of those types of products. We don't know how they were extracted and if there are any unnatural ingredients in there. So work with a qualified retailer. Some of the better brands that I've worked with and seen good results with customers and clients is CW Hemp, Sun God Medicinals. I've seen good success with Bluebird Botanicals. Barlean's makes a good clean CBD oil. So it's kind of a buyer beware situation now, especially if you're buying online. You want to make sure you have all the information before you order that product.
Right, and I would suggest that as this industry grows, that as consumers asking for really clean organic products, in that we have a chance to move the industry in a way to request and demand clean organic products as this industry grows, and so that they know that the consumer doesn't want things that are adulterated or low grade or pesticide ridden products. So
absolutely,
I think that if you do decide to use CBD oil, is you find the organic and choose organic.
Right, choose organic or some type of or chemical free, certified chemical free. Work with a practitioner that has experience with this, or a retailer that has experience with this type of product. Dr. Rodgers, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us about CBD oil, help maybe clear up some confusion, give people more information so they can make educated decisions.
Right. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a pleasure, and I wish you luck in the rest of your nutritional videos.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we'll see you again on one of our videos.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.